Hello and welcome to episode 3 of our Recliner review series. And for this episode, we are doing Pyscho Goreman. Wow. My first reaction after the movie is like, you're going to remember this movie in a day or two because it's just one of those weird movies at the very end. You're just like, man, that was a weird movie. Now, what can I say about this movie? Well, it's one of those movies where it's not that great, but at the same time, it's pretty good. It's the perfect combination of cheese and not cheese. And it's just one of those movies that I think is probably going to be a good time, especially if you got a few buddies, maybe a few beers, and you'll probably enjoy yourself. So what is Pyscho Goreman? Well, essentially it's this powerful demon from another world, and essentially he gets trapped on Earth and is cursed that if anyone who holds a stone, he has to obey the stone. So then what happens is this little girl named Mimi finds a stone in her backyard while she's abusing the living
expletive
of her brother. So what she does is she essentially makes him his slave and just does whatever she wants, and she just goes and does these weird and wacky things, and primarily just these really creepy little girl things because she's kind of nuts. If you haven't tell, this little girl Mimi, she's kind of a psycho, and like the dad said, the real monsters are the human beings and not the actual monsters. And I think that's a really good point to say in this movie, where the monsters really is the monsters. So for those of you who are running, this movie is definitely not PG, even though his name is, well, Pyscho Goreman, aka PG. And all in all, that is actually really just a good running joke, because all throughout this movie, his name is PG, something that's supposed to mean, oh, hey, this is maybe, I guess, child-friendly, but this dude just straight up just goes and rips off the head like two dudes just immediately and just constantly want to murder everybody, and yet his name is PG, like, hey, man, I'm child-friendly. Goes and kill this one guy. Hey, look, this dude over there, I'm going to go kill you. Hey, look, another person, I'm going to go murder you and make you suffer for eternity because that's what I do. And it's just this amazingly weird, funny dynamic where, especially when her parents finally meet Pyscho Goreman, it's just this amazingly funny and creepy scene where it's like, Mimi's just sitting there and just trying to explain, like, oh, hey, he's super nice and all, and the parents are just terrified looking over there. He's like, oh, hey, he's a little cute little bud, and he won't hurt a fly. I will kill you all the minute you look away. Oh, he doesn't mean that he's super nice. I will make sure I bathe in your blood. He doesn't mean that I swear to God, he doesn't mean that I will destroy your entire planet. And it's just amazingly weird, funny dynamic, and I think this movie really hits off really good on just that type of dynamic of, oh, hey, he doesn't mean that, and I will destroy and murder you and everyone I know. And it's just this amazingly funny dynamic, and it's just freaking awesome, man. So as far as characters, it's all consist of course, Pyscho Goreman, in which we've already kind of explained. He's this really weird psycho demon from way, way out there in the middle of space where he's conquered, all these planets and all these people, and kind of has a, cool-ish backstory where he was a slave and then he learned freedom, but then immediately was like, hey,
expletive
guys, I'm just going to go murder you now because you enslaved my entire people. And then he realized that the stone is, more than just freedom. It's just essentially a bloodlust curse, and wants you to just go and kill as many people as possible. And that's really what he just does. He just goes on a murder binge, or like, boom, I kill your planet. Boom, I kill your planet. Boom, I kill your planet. And originally, it's kind of justified because, like I said, it's a heartful slave story. His planet gets enslaved by essentially this ruthless race that may or may not kind of resemble the Goa'ulds from Stargate. But, hey, they gotta get your space race from somewhere. Come on, man. So, continuing on with the plot, it essentially just goes, it's just basically this little girl doing whatever she wants with the giant monster, and it pretty much plays out how you'd expect. It's a little girl who has control of a monster demon, and so comedy ensues when you can do whatever you want, and you're a bratty little girl, and you just want to go and screw some people over. And that's really what she does pretty much the entire movie. So the biggest person she likes to screw over is her brother, and no surprise there, siblings hate each other, and guess what? She hates her brother, or hates her brother, and, they have, a heartfelt story where, of course, actually, this is spoilers. I'll actually cut this. So, let's see. So, let's talk about this family dynamic. By far, this is probably one of the most screwed up families I've ever seen. Period. I mean, it's just messed up from point A to point Z. None of it just works at all. First off, you have this really psycho daughter who is seriously on the same level as this freaking demon. I mean, honestly, this little girl might be more messed up than this demon. I mean, at least this demon makes sense. He had a heartful backstory. This little girl's she's messed up just for being messed up. I mean, she has no heartfelt explanation like she was a slave. No, she was just born messed up and crazy. I mean, that's insane. As far as his brother, I mean, it's more respectable and it's more likable and it's more relatable. It's just the typical sibling dynamic, one sibling likes each other, the other one doesn't, and he's trying to be the best brother he can to this really
expletive
sister. I mean, this entire time, your favorite thing is just torturing him, and I get it, that's what siblings do, but I mean, it's just kind of this little heartfelt undertone where he kind of really does care about her, but she doesn't care about him, and that's kind of where this ends at, really. As far as the mother, well, it's one of those stories where it's understandable why she's the way she is, but at the same time, she's also probably not the greatest mother ever. But like I said, it's probably justified once you see how messed up this family is. I mean, I think we'd all be pretty messed up anyway. So the father by far is probably the funniest dude in this, probably one of the funniest out of this whole series. He is totally just this lazy guy, doesn't give a
expletive
about anything, just bad father to the extreme. Probably the best and worst quote is at the very end where he's like, he wants to have a heartfelt talk with his daughter, but it is probably the worst heartfelt talk I have ever heard in my life. So I won't go into spoilers because it's kind of spoilers, but something important happens, and so he wants to have a heartfelt talk, so he just brings her off to the side like, hey, I know this is a really tough decision for you, so I kind of want to give you some experience. Like, I know I'm
expletive
a father, but I have some
expletive
advice. And so here's my
expletive
advice. And so essentially, he then begins to do this really weird and creepy story about, so this one time when I was a little kid, this weird stranger in the van wanted to show me his baseball card. So I was like, you know what? I gotta have that, man. That sounds like some awesome baseball cards. I'm gonna go in the middle of this weird guy's van. And you know what? I had the time of my life, so you should too. You should go and just completely blindly follow this weird stranger demon and just do whatever he says. You can totally trust him. What the
expletive
Yeah, that's probably the worst parenting advice I ever heard in my life. Like, hey, there's a stranger with candy. Go jump in the van because I had an awesome time. He's totally not
expletive
but totally just do it because why not? Alright, so let's talk about Pyscho Goreman. Well, he's technically the main character, so we might as well, cover him because that, might be a good review. And honestly, he's actually kind of a good character. I mean, sure, he's this monster demon and all, but his story arc is actually kind of good. I mean, it's definitely comedic towards the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's pretty funny where he ends up. But overall, his story arc is pretty good. I mean, I think he's a pretty good character. In the beginning, all he wants to do is murder people and make you suffer for no reason because I'm the monster and eternal demon suffering and whatnot. But I mean, that's his whole stick. He's just this way too serious wants to murder everything, and my God, does that have some pretty good scenes. And no shockers there. He pulls off a Paul. So if you guys remember from Paul when he dressed up as a little cowboy, he went in that little comic book store and did that, well, Pyscho Goreman does the same thing, and it is just equally as funny and ridiculous. Like, there's a grown monster demon just casually wearing like a suit and tie and like a neckerchief, and the cowboy hat, sunglasses, and it's just freaking hilarious to think about. And especially when you're watching it, it's just like, man, that's just freaking ridiculous. Like, demons aren't supposed to wear ties. And then he just like, I will murder you all now, and then yeah. And it's just this really funny, awesome dynamic to this entire movie, and I think they play off very well. This movie knows exactly what it is. It is simultaneously a semi-serious movie, but not serious at all. I mean, granted, I do like that they try to put lore into it, but I mean, it's just funny. It's like an cheesy 80s movie where it's just non-stop cheese after cheese after cheese after cheese, and it's just freaking amazing, man. You just gotta love that cheese. So let's talk about the effects. Now, I actually kind of really dig this movie because it's like 90% practical effects and not CGI, and really you gotta respect that. I mean, hands down, practical effects look worlds better than CGI, even though I like movies like Pacific Rim where, you know, it's like a 200-foot mech just slapping the living
expletive
a kaiju with a boat. But this is more appreciative in a different kind of light where, you know, you can see the time and effort that actually went into make this movie, because 90% of the costumes and the characters are handmade, handcrafted, and it's just amazing, really. I mean, you gotta respect the dedication to the actors making all these things. And sure, some look really kind of cheesy, like that weird Templar lady kind of looks weird and cheesy, but hey, it's good cheese, man. It's like the Power Rangers where, you know, it's not the greatest, but you can still enjoy it and you can take it not seriously whatsoever because it's just a good time and everything's practical, it's fun, it's cheese, it's awesome. As far as the actual special effects, it's definitely not, you know, AAA, but this movie is definitely a B movie, but it's a good B movie, I should say, you know. Like I said earlier, you get a few friends, you have a few beers, I think you'll have a good time. It's not the greatest movie ever, but I've definitely seen a lot worse, and really, in this time, I think this could be a good movie regardless of who you are. Just like, hey, you want to watch a stupid movie, just be stupid with friends? Let's do it. Let's watch a stupid movie. This movie is for you guys. So the overall arc and story is essentially that this demon, Pyscho Goreman, an incredibly demonic and incredibly strengthy name prior to getting Pyscho Goreman, essentially what he wants to do, he wants to conquer all the universe and kill everybody. And he can't because he got entrapped essentially by the Templars and this Templar lady, which is kind of a weird story that looks like ghouls, but whatever, okay, I'll accept it because, hey, we like Stargate and we like references, okay? So I'll accept this. I like Stargate, so we'll go for it. So anyways, the entire purpose of this whole movie is essentially for Pyscho Goreman to try and get this amulet, stone, ruin, whatever you want to call it, back so he can go and take over the world. But since Mimi has it, the little girl who is really freaking psycho, and she doesn't want to get over, and she's having fun, and this entire time it's just this constant back and forth of, hey, give me the stone, like, I'll go kill you. Like, hey, you want to go play dodgeball? I will murder you. Hey, you want to go play with a dog or whatever? I hate you. Please say you're sorry. I will never say, okay, you're going to kill me, I'm sorry. And it's just this weird
expletive
dynamic, and it's just really amazing and awesome, and it's really cool, man. So when the story starts to get interesting is when kind of the more character arcs are revealed and we start to see more of Pyscho Goreman. And yes, he is a monster, but he's a monster with a heart? Question mark. He kind of has like this soft spots, especially for his generals. And the generals are kind of really interesting aspect because, you know, they were people who were supposedly enslaved and now they're not enslaved, but now they're dicks just like him, so they just want to kill everybody. And when it gets kind of interesting is the generals eventually turn on him, and it becomes this really weird and funny fight scene where it's like, hey guys, I need you to come save me. And then like freaking 2 weeks later, like, hey boss, we're here to save you. Psych, we're here to kill you. And he's just like, what? I thought you were here to free me. Like, no, we never saved you. Like, I trusted every single one of you. Except for you, Captain Copernicus and Tron, I never trusted you and I hate you. And I hope you die the most painful death. But everyone else, if I like you, except for you, Psychotron, I freaking hate you. And hey guys, what's going on? And it's just this really weird, funny dynamic scene again. And like I said, the practical effects is definitely cheesy, but it's good cheese. And like I said, cheese is awesome, and this movie is just nothing but cheese, and it knows exactly what it is, and exactly knows when to make fun of itself, and this movie does cheap good on a budget, and my god, this has some really good moments. So if I had to give this a rating, it definitely not would be on the normal scale, because this is clearly a B movie, but it's a good B movie, and if you're into cheese, you're into that kind of retro horror comedy, then this is the movie for you, and essentially, if you had a few beers, I think you'll really enjoy this movie because it's really worth your time and it's pretty freaking funny. But like I said, just set your expectations right. This is not a AAA big budget blockbuster. This is a really good cheesy B movie, but it's a B movie worth your time. And so therefore, I highly do suggest you see this movie, but you may want to have a few drinks with your friends first. Otherwise, the comedic genius of this weird cheese movie might not hit you fully. And this movie can definitely be classified as technically a stoner flick because it's got that perfect amount of cheese, but like I said, if you set your expectations right, this movie will be a good time for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly do hope you had as much fun as I have. And if you did, awesome. And so with that said, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys.